Chaos. I'm Dave Campbell, CEO of Campbell Management Consulting. We're here every Monday evening from 7 to 8 talking about project management related issues on KFNX News Talk Radio 1100. We have been talking about communications with Ms. Sahar Andrade, who's a strategic expert on communications and leadership tonight as part of my beginning monologue where I was talking about PMs bringing added value to their situation. Sahar, let's talk about active listening because I think a lot of people misunderstand it, don't do it.
You read my mind. I was just going to talk about active listening, actually.
Let's talk about active listening then.
Well, people don't realize that there is a difference between hearing, listening, and actively listening. You know, and there is a difference. Hearing is basically just hearing a sound. I mean, someone can be talking to you, but are you really listening? Or are you just all over the place? Because some people, when you talk to them, they go all over the place. They just are waiting for you to stop or to take a breath so they can just jump into the conversation. They just wait so they can get into the conversation so they don't actually listen to you. All they are into their own mind. You know, or they read between the lines, or they have prejudgment, or they don't trust the person talking to them, or whatever they believe in is totally different from what they're listening. So or there is a disconnect, emotion disconnect, meaning that they could be angry, or they could just disagreeing with you as a base. So whatever you're gonna say is gonna get from the right ear to the out the left ear. Active listening is basically actually listening and hearing at the same time and being involved into the conversation, having an open mind to listen. And there are actually elements to active listening. The first one is to stop talking. And in my workshop, I always make them stop talking, not only physically, but also in their own mind. In your mind, stop thinking. Stop talking to yourself in your own mind.
Well, you know, the thinking part about it is not a problem for me. I stop thinking usually when I wake up and after I brush my teeth. That's usually the end of my thinking for the day. But, the whole thing about active listening reminds me of a quote that Dean Russ wrote, and that's the best way to sell somebody on something is to listen to them.
Absolutely. And it's not only that, and there is I think we shared this story in another program about the monk and the teapot, and it's a very interesting story, and I love that story. It's a monk had a student that went to him for lessons, and the student walks into the monk place, and the monk asked him if he wanted some tea. So he said sure. The monk started pouring tea in a teacup from a teapot. The teacup was full, but he started pouring more and more tea, and it started flooding, flowing all over the cup. And the student kept telling the monk, "Master, it's enough, Master, it's enough," but he did not stop till the teapot was empty. And the moral of the story, when he explained to the student that his mind is like the teacup. If it's full and he doesn't empty it, no matter what anyone is trying to tell him, it's going to overflow and he will never listen.
Yeah.
So this is, and one of the points of active listening also is to look at someone in the eye, have an eye contact, ask question, to make sure that you are understanding. Don't label, and I'm not talking about you, I mean the person. Don't label the person that is talking to you. They are too young, they don't know what they're saying. They are too old, they don't know how to use computer. They are, she's a woman, she's too feely. We should not label people when they talk to us. We should just have an open mind and listen. We should not prejudge people. We ask questions, we remember names, and we stop, and we actively listen. all of us, no matter how good listeners we are, we can use some more active listening. God knows my husband will tell you that I need more active listening, so. And active listening even will save a lot of problems, a lot of miscommunication, because believe it or not, the first base in effective communication is active listening.
Right, and pretty much we can let the words that they're saying judge them on their own. We don't have to, immediately, comment on it or anything else.
No.
We can just sit there. The interesting thing, and another cute little factoid about active listening is we listen at approximately 500 words a minute.
Mm-hmm.
We speak approximately 150 words a minute.
Yep.
But for some reason, we don't take advantage of the two little appendages that God graced us with on the sides of our heads. We have the ability, to hear in stereo, or at least most of us, obviously.
Exactly.
And all we end up doing is rattling off and not taking the moment to sit there and listen. And project managers, and I'll just make a general statement, project managers would do well to do a lot less talking and a lot more listening to their team, because in a lot of cases, depending on the environment that you establish, whether you create a trusted environment or not, there's an awful lot of information if you would just take a moment and listen to what's being said.
Exactly. And active listening is not only about hearing or listening to what's said verbally. It's also taking in whatever is said non-verbally or by body language.
Right.
We can't forget the non-verbal.
No, not at all. I mean, you can, if you work at the components of active listening, when you have a meeting, you can immediately recognize through body language who's shut down on you. And
oh, yeah.
But it's a skill, and it's something that needs to be worked on. We all need to work on it. And to your point, yes, we listen, but every one of us could work a little bit harder on the active listening component, and trying to keep at bay at least a little bit the cultural differences, the environmental differences,
yes,
and so on and so forth, and just make eye contact, like you said,
yes,
and listen to what they're saying.
Exactly. And to come back really quick to the emails point that you mentioned in the beginning of the program, a very important point when we communicate in emails, I mean, either personal or business, absolutely business, you cannot, I saw, believe it or not, a lot of emails all in capital letters.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and people don't realize that when you write an email in capital letters, meaning that you're either angry or you are shouting at whoever you are sending the email to.
Right.
And people don't realize that. And then sometimes when people get an email and they just want to say thank you, they just hit the reply all and CC everybody when they really don't have to. They don't spell check. They keep forwarding chains of emails, and they need to realize that if you don't want someone to see something that you wrote, do not write it on an email, because it becomes a record.
Right.
And also
there's a whole etiquette that goes around
exactly.
email. It's just completely lost on me. It's just like the Generation Y stuff with the texting and everything else.
Yes.
I don't know anything about the new texting words.
Yeah.
I mean, things
like
are shortened.
Like later now they write it L, the number 8, R. That's later.
Oh my God! Well, see, and I'm probably showing my age here, because all of that crap gets lost on me. I'd rather just have.
I actually like seeing it, because that shows that I'm not going to have that much of a competition when I get on market.
That's probably true
I can
too.
spell later.
L8R. That's it. Yeah.
Oh my God!
And BRB. Be right back.
Right now.
Okay, before we run out of the hour, Sahar, let's hit on the final point, which is improving communications. We've got approximately 2 minutes, so let's give the audience the high points for improving communications.
the first point in improving communication is absolutely active listening. That's the first point that we should encourage. You know, and the benefits of that will double or will triple even the effectiveness of our communication. Put ourselves in the other person's shoes. Have our message clear, concise, complete, correct. Be credible. Basically, give trust to people so they can trust what we say. Open minds. Do not label anyone. Do not telegraph messages. Do not assume that people will understand what you're saying, because there are a lot of slangs that we should not use.
Okay. Sahar, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks
Same
so much
here,
for
Dave.
being a guest tonight. Wayne, great show as usual. I'd like to thank the audience out there for tolerating my little tirade at the top of the show. I'm Dave Campbell, CEO of Campbell Management Consulting. Tune in next week on Monday from 7 to 8 for more clarity from chaos and the latest on project management, insight, and advice. You're listening to KFNX News Talk Radio 1100.